This is Dust War Journals, episode 41, your number one stop for news and discussion related to Dust 1947. And my name is Johannes, and joining me today, as usual, are my co-hosts.
Oh, that might be me, or
Yes.
one of them at least.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good. I think my name is Ludda. I have some brains problem after yesterday.
Got a brain problem situation.
Yeah.
And Magnus also finally made it here. A bit
Yay.
late today, but shit happens.
Yeah, we could say we kind of dropped the ball in a way, and not the New Year's ball in that way, but we kind of had a lot to deal with, all three of us, in various different ways the last couple of months or last couple of weeks.
To say the least.
Yes, so you might have noticed that this episode has been a bit late. We apologize for that. We're trying to keep up the pace, and we have some exciting stuff coming up for you. We kind of teased a while back about the Dustification special, which we haven't released yet. We have actually recorded it though, but we have some editing and some other stuff, so it's upcoming, and hopefully it's going to be before the next regular episode of the show. And we also have some other... Yes, exactly. And the plans are always subject to change, of course. But we also have some other kind of extra stuff coming up as well after this show, which we will get back to in a bit. But first off, usually we start with hobby time. What have we done hobby-wise since our last episode? Have any of us actually had time for a hobby time since last episode? Oh, great.
Yeah. I had a swell time yesterday, for instance. I had a trip down to Varberg, to your namesake, Johannes, in Varberg. Big thanks for yesterday. It was a great day in Varberg. We played the two first scenarios from Paradise Lost, the Antarctica 2.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't played those two before. I just watched you guys play one of them. And Johannes has, we've only played twice before, and he kind of mauled me on those two occasions. It wasn't fair to Johannes. He hadn't prepped so well for these two scenarios. I had perhaps a little bit of a special Blowcloits list for it, and let's just say it was a German day yesterday, and that's why I'm still a little brainy, because I've been eating some Russian brains. No, it was a swell time actually.
Awesome.
And I've been paying just a little bit at least. I've, as you all know, have had a hell of a ride the last couple of weeks, and let's not talk too much about that. Thankfully, hopefully, everything is starting to mend again. But I've been able to play a little bit of board games, and I crashed your place 2 days ago when I was in town, and suddenly just realized, why go home? Why not go to Magnus and play some games?
Yes, we got just a couple of hours at least, and played some board games. So it was fun.
Awesome.
And our game of Rebellion was after last episode, so we've been playing 2-3 times at least. So you also been.
We also got some board game time with you.
On New Year's Eve.
Yeah, exactly. So it was us, it was your daughter, and it was my wife, and we played a murder mystery card game, and we played the Champion of the Wild.
Yes,
that's really we have to get together like a big group of people and play that, because that was a blast.
Definitely. And I just you felt like when you have a kid in the mix, you can't really go all out with the way you present your animals and what they're doing, and I guess you could get even worse stories or even worse.
I kind of felt that. For those of you who don't know, this is the basic concept for this game is that you're a coach that's teaching animals to do various sports, and you're supposed to have one animal that's competing in a triathlon of 3 different events, which are very different, and you're supposed to just explain and try to convince the other players that your animal is the one that's going to do best in these events.
Yeah.
And the thing I noticed about playing with a kid with this is that, well, it's kind of there's most games it feels like you have to make amends for kids playing it. This was a game where I felt that when she got into it, she was on the exact same kind of level as we were. When she described her singing contest with the leaping dolphins and the killer whale singing back up.
Maybe sometimes even like better because kids have that ability to kind of think out of the box and come up with completely new things.
If I compare it a little bit to like games like Once Upon a Time and stuff, when you play stories, I mean, if you're adults and perhaps also having a little bit of wine or whiskey and you're playing Once Upon a Time, the stories can be not suitable for kids, I would say. And I think these animal training stuff could...
It's a borderline.
Could be, depending on your play group.
So the kids can help, and I definitely recommend that game for kids, families with kids. But I also think that's a very interesting game to play just adults and the same type of humor or something like that. Yeah. But and it's, of course, it was a little bit hard for me to get the Eurovision into the Olympic game category, sort of like. But it was, and of course. Seriously, viewers, it was crazy because, or listeners, I should say, not only excluding one part or the others. For some reason, all of the time when we play like 3 turns or something, like 3 games or something. My animal always was the best, and I don't know how it was. I never did the shuffling of the cards, but for some reason I always got the best animals, and it was so strange. Unfortunately, you and Mia and Nova didn't realize that all the time, but most of the time you realize that,
because you cannot vote for your own animals, you have to convince the other players.
Yeah, that's
so that's the kind of thing there. So that was part of the things that I was kind of involved in, but just hobby-wise, otherwise just the painting and building and stuff, I really hadn't had the time. But I did go to a very fun tournament just a few days after New Year's, and I think we're going to go back and talk about that when we get to tournament talk in the end. But that was 2 very interesting and fun days.
I can guess it was, and I would have loved to go for that, even though I almost already had been to it in one aspect.
Yeah, but it would have been interesting if just to see the difference, because I'm guessing it was a different context, a different kind of. It was more casual than they would have been in Germany, I would suppose.
50-50, I would say.
So we'll get back to that when we talk about tournament talk. So Magnus, any hobby things you want to take
out? Not too much, because my entire family, we got a bad case of the flu for most of the holidays now, so not done too much. But like Lode said, we did get a couple of board game occasions in, and that's always nice. But I'm hoping now that we are better, I will be able to get back on track. I haven't done anything with the 3D printed stuff that I mentioned last time. So
no, but you did something else. You did something extra 3D printed for the other game.
Yeah, there's still been the 3D printer has still been going. So there's some added stuff for a couple of different board games actually to kind of enhance them and make them a little bit cooler. Cool. There's so much cool stuff that you can do with a 3D printer.
Yeah, of course.
And I also almost, since this is a podcast, and also to me, actually, what I've started just to keep myself going, to get done with the German special, because that's we won't talk about it too much now, but it's 85-90% done now, so you will get it. It's coming. But to get me going with the Audacity, which is the system we use when we record, I've been doing my daughter's new favorite book series, Nevermore, as an audiobook. So I'm doing chapters for her, and
so like training your voice,
and keeping up with it, and trying to get the mindset right for these podcasts and stuff. And I feel that's helping in the broader aspect, and it's almost it's almost hobby time because
in a way,
I'm actually thinking
hobby adjacent.
Yeah, because when I'm done with the Nevermore first book, I'm thinking I'll go back to the Blood and Thunder and do the second, third, and fourth chapters if I hope someone is interested, and then I'll do it. And let's see if I can start producing.
We could actually mention that because people might not have heard that. It was a while ago you did that you actually recorded the first chapter of the Dust novel, the Blood and Thunder novel. And that's available for free on our site, on dustwarjournals.com, so you can find it there. And we can include a link to it in the internet if you want to. And hopefully we can get some more chapters done.
Yeah, I hope so. And you hear I'm Swedish, of course, and it's not 100. It's not clean, and it's not like. But it's for those of you who can't get hold of the book or wanted to an audiobook of it for when you paint or something, and you can. Do with my voice.
And you feel you don't get enough of Ludda anyway.
No, so. You never get too much Ludda in your life.
And a final little mention I should also, or maybe I don't know if it's a tip or if it's a warning, because at Christmas I was recommended a video game by one of my in-laws called Rim World. And this is kind of a science fiction colony management game. The base scenario is that you have 3 people who have crash landed in rescue pods on an alien planet, and they have to survive and build up a colony. And in order to get resources, and in the end, you're supposed to build an escape ship and get off the planet. And this game is some of the most addictive gameplay I have ever seen. This has eaten up almost every waking moment I've had. So like I said, I'm not sure if it's a recommendation or if it's a warning. But if that sounds any interest to you at all, then Rim World is the name.
Good to know. So if Johannes is not picking up his pace with the normal hobby work, we'll go and do something with his computer.
So you can blame that. All right, but we're not here to talk about video games. We're here to talk about Dust. Yes.
A proper game.
So let's go talk about some news, because there has been some new releases, for instance, since our last episode. Of course, most of these we have already talked about, since we got a kind of heads-on kind of little preview of them. Yes, exactly. But now they are all available to purchase. This is of course, the Paradise Lost expansion book, which is amazing, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about this book more later on in the show. We also have the HQ boxes for the IJN and Mythos, and the Steel Guard starter set, a fantastic starter set, I would say. Also the E10 Hetzer and Flamhetzer, very, very nice kit, and I'm so much wanting to build an army based around these. I have these kind of the Walker-based NDAC platoon. So have a mounted infantry in those and surround them with E10 tanks. I mean, that's just for the visual aspect alone, that would be amazing.
That would look really good.
And finally, we also have a new scale resin model kit, the Shadow in 1/20 scale. This is Weng Si Wong, the ninja master herself, but in a bigger figurine.
Weng Si Wow.
Okay, so that's just I think people, if you're not completely new to the show, we pronounce things any way we want to.
But so I'm just wow because I wow it. That's what I'm sorry. I'm a little bit.
Oh, you think so? Because it is a
Weng Si Wow.
Because it is a very,
it.
very lovely kit. And I haven't ordered this one yet. I really want to. I had.
Do you really want? Do you really want?
I do. I did get the Sigrid one. I have the older ones that were made. Yes. There was another. There were Twisted Toys that made a few before they made. Frank von Stein, and they made the Winter Child, and I have those as well. The only reason that I haven't really painted them yet is that I'm not sure if I can make these models if I can make them justice just by my painting skills.
I hear you, man.
But so it's intimidating at some point. But also there's a lot of little small details, which in a way also makes it easier to paint if you just have the patience to do it. So at some point, especially when I get kind of everything else that's kind of distracting me out of the way, then maybe I'll start with those. Yeah, so that's I really love that the studio themselves are picking this up and making stuff that's not just for the game specifically, but also for the collectors.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So that's it for the releases, but there's also something else that's going on at the moment that I think we should mention. That is the official scenario contest for the next expansion book. That was launched over on Facebook and I think other places as well. And this is kind of similar to the one that they did before. So it's basically you create a scenario. There's all the we'll include a link to the Facebook post about this, so you can get all the exact details about it. But really, it's a standard scenario. Try to make it the same way that they presented in the books, with a map and a complete description of the specific rules. It can be for 2 players or more if you want to. It's grid-based, and the winner will have a chance to get his or her scenario published in the Downfall expansion book. And what we should mention that the deadline for this contest is February 10th. So you do only have a few more weeks if you hear this episode while it's brand new. So get going working on this if you want a chance to be in the book. Then also, finally in the news section, we have just a lot to talk about previews coming up in 2020, because a few weeks ago, like a month ago, Paolo Parente was in Singapore for a tournament there, and as usual he held a presentation of upcoming stuff, and this presentation was specifically focused on stuff that is going to be released in 2020. And of course we know that all of these dates are preliminary. Things are going to probably change and such, and this is not everything that is going to be released in 2020. There's of course going to be more, but some highlights. And first off, Paolo talked about that the standard infantry boxes are going to look slightly different. Before they talked about including 2 different leaders, and we've seen this in some of the versions of the ninjas, for example. There's 2 different models to use for the leader, just to make some variety in the units there. But coming up in 2020, they're going to be multi-option infantry boxes, and the base for these is 1 leader figure, 3 trooper figures with the same armaments, and 3 specialist figures with different armaments. This does not mean that there's going to be 8 model units, though. No. It's still going to be the standard 5 model units, but you will have some kind of leeway in how you put them together. So there's going to be several different cards in each box, and you pick up those specific models that go with that card. Yeah. And it's a very interesting thing to do. I mean, they have done slightly similar things before. I think even all the way back in the FFG days. For some of the Rangers, I think there were 2.
Yeah, there was an extra bazooka in one. And they've already done it in one other way, you could say it, when you look at like the... there's a Scorpion infantry building box there where you can model kit.
With the model kits.
Because then you could choose which squad you wanted to put together, the phaser one or the machine gun one. Yeah. And if there were a third, they could have easily made a third combo unit that had the mix of phasers, or maybe you could actually make the HQ and then just need to find 2 backpacks to get the commander and like the radio operator or the So you. And
I think that especially because this is going to be going forward, I suspect for all the different versions. I mean not the primed, because the primed versions are going away. We know that. So the ready to play versions, the model kit versions, and supposedly the premier versions as well, the premium versions. But it's also going to, like you said, it's going to make kind of kit bashing a bit interesting, because if you buy 3 of these kits and then kind of kit bash together specific leaders, then you can get like 5 units out of those 3 boxes.
And perhaps that would be a possibility to up some of your old squads, perhaps if you had a.
Yeah.
I don't know what type of units they will release now. Then, but with the if there comes a, we talked about we wanted a SSU new regular Type 2 infantry, and that could, if that could be this kind of box, then that could perhaps revamp some of your old, so you can still buy but still don't have to throw away all your old. The same things perhaps with the Allied 2s. If they get one more squad, why don't the Allied 2 get a Phaser squad, for instance? Get something in there, mix up your Allied 2s, so I can still play my old stuff, but I can still buy, so I'm not just a leech on the studio, so to speak. I understand that studio wants money, I mean, and I don't mind giving them, but I also want to use my old stuff, of course, as a player. So if that could be like the bridge between my old stuff and my new stuff, and then, well, yeah.
There's definitely some really interesting possibilities here.
Definitely.
And more specifically, we got a date of March 2020 for an upcoming battle box. So if you remember the old Battle for Zverograd boxes, this is similar. This is called Battle for Babylon. It's a 2-player battle box featuring the USMC versus Blutkreuz. So this is the perfect start if you are 2 people new to the game and just want something. Where do I begin? This is where you begin.
Yeah.
And this looks like it's going to be quite a lot of bang for your buck in terms of costs.
Yeah, and it's like that classic movie, it's like that battle box, because it's so many, perhaps not so many, but it's a lot of American soldiers going into Germany and finding zombies or strange things happening in the mad German war. So it taps into that beautifully, I think.
And I love that they have chosen to include especially Blutkreuz in this, because that is sort of like the sort of original faction in the game, almost like and very, very iconic. So I mean, if I wouldn't have been surprised if they had included, for example, Mythos, which is sort of the new kid on the block, the new shiny stuff. So I'm really happy that they didn't actually, and kind of went back here with the Blutkreuz. And of course the Marines, also cool. We haven't really, at least for me, I have the feeling there hasn't been too much focus on the Marines for some time now.
No.
They've been kind of hanging around in the background a little bit. So it's also cool to have them come to the forefront in this box.
Definitely.
And because as you say, I just thought about it, the game yesterday when I was playing my Laser Grenadiers in Antarctica. And I mean, because that was just such a classic, because those Laser Grenadiers are from the Coffin box, and they have been around now like for ages, and they were playing in Antarctica, so there was like almost the right setting for the first scenarios that they made.
Yeah, the
so
circle is complete.
Yeah, and I really made we have a little, or I've adopted a little special silly thing perhaps, or just fun thing. When I play lasers, of course, I always invoke the laser god Roger, and I was doing that yesterday and I was having the holy Laser Grenadiers from the Coffin box with the holy dice of Rogers, and I was like, okay, this is perhaps in some of you know who he is and stuff like that, but it's always extra fun when Johannes was like looking at me, not you, the other one. Perhaps you are doing it as well. I don't know. But like, you're just crazy. Why are you chanting his name and stuff like that? But it's just, it adds fun.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah, it did.
Next thing on this preview list is probably the one that I think most people didn't see coming and just are very excited about. In June 2020, we have a unit of armored scooters coming up for the mercenaries.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically Vespas.
Yeah, but not also
with,
mercenaries.
Yeah, and armed with those recoilless rifles. Yeah. And
Desert Scorpions as well.
Some people weren't actually that surprised, because this is actually something that did exist.
And then now
that's so weird. It's so fantastic to see that things that we think are so weird in the game are actually much of the stuff that we see are based on actual at least research, if not finished products in that era.
I'm just waiting for those scary documents when they show us that Germany actually had a monkey or zombie laboratory somewhere.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do this game mechanic-wise, because it says it's going to be 2 scooters per unit.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be like a combination of the vehicles units with the support weapon rule in a way, because I don't know, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there.
Will they be vehicles? Will they be infantry?
It feels like it should be like vehicle 1.
Yeah,
But, that would make it a bit difficult if you have 2 scooters in one unit, just how you do it with the
that's
hit
what I'm
points.
thinking as well. So to me, it kind of sounds more like it counts as an infantry unit. But I
so
don't know.
we'll just have to
we'll
wait and see.
about
Yeah.
that.
But why? Why would that be a problem?
It's not really a problem, but they haven't done it before, so it's going to be there have to be something new.
It might very well be that they are vehicles rules-wise, but we haven't seen any units of vehicles before, so it will be a new. Yeah.
A new concept, of course, but I could see 2 scooters with 2 wounds, and when you've lost 2 wounds, you take off one of the scooters, the other one just keeps going, and then you take off the other scooter when it takes 2 wounds. Yeah. So I see no problem with having multiple vehicles in one square, as long as the square is big enough so they do. It's more the space of the square to me that is the important thing. Otherwise, I see no problem. Sorry.
He also mentioned, Paolo, that in late 2020 there will be releasing a whole bunch of extra resin figures for these mercenary scooters, and we've already seen the the studio release just a ton of different mercenaries, all those mechanic women, and there's going to be a lot of different poses, so you can just and I think also for people who want to build dioramas and stuff like that. I mean, they are girls just laying on top of the scooter, just relaxing. There's one using it as cover, sitting behind it and shooting. So there's a lot of different cool options there. And next up, summer 2020, the multi-option Mythos Cultist. We've seen a bunch of these before. It's like the dual heavy machine gun wielding guys, one that has it strapped to his back. So there's going to be a lot of stuff there. And that's interesting because they just recently received the Saboteur Squad, but they are in desperate need of more just options for infantry. So that's really good to see that that's coming. And in December 2020, that's when we get all the big real meat that Paolo was talking about. First of all, we get the scooters for the Desert Scorpions. So same thing, but more or less, but for another faction there. We also get a multi-option PLA Volunteers box, and there's another faction that's also sorely in need of more infantry options, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. And those sculpts looks cool. I like the straw hats. One of these days, I think I'm going to fall and do a Chinese army anyway, because now if the variety gets there, and I can also incorporate some Russian.
Yeah, and I feel specifically with the HQ, it's going to be so annoying to play against those. Right. Also in December, a new mercenary walker. This is basically built on the light, Flamluther chassis for the Axis as the underslung flamethrower, but the armaments are basically from the Bulldog.
Yeah.
Or from the rather from the 6-shooter, the dual sextuple guns. Yes. So this is going to be a heavy hitter for the Mercs, which also is something that they have sorely lacked. Yeah. Some long-range, heavy firepower to take out tanks. And I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be not that cheap, or maybe a unique vehicle of some kind, because just because of the mercenaries, there's not supposed to be kind of their own army, but maybe they are now. It has kind of changed the attitude there, I feel.
Yeah, I'm very dualistic about this one, because I think it looks super when I look at it. I do believe this is just what they need, so to speak. So it's going to be even more interesting playing the Mercs, and I like playing against Mercs because I feel they are a good diversity for the games. It gets funnier. the same thing. It is a little bit. I agree with a friend of ours that thought that perhaps they're just slapping too much on the walker. You get a little bit. It's like machine guns here, machine guns there, flamers there, and sextuple guns over there, and their dual, of course, as well. So that's even more. It's a little bit. I get a little sense of the pre-bases for GV when they wanted to put everything on their bases. So it was like skulls, rifles, more skulls, and everything. I was like, you didn't see the model because the base was so full of shit, actually. So I'm just I'm just.
I don't know. I don't really feel worried about that at all because Paolo has a great track record in designing these stuff, making them look cool, making them feel right. And at least for me, part of Dust is that. I mean, like you said before, we have stuff that are really close to reality things, but they are just slightly more than that, a little bit over the top there. But it's not too much. I think everything in the game is just right. So I'm not worried about this one at all.
I agree with mostly everything you say, and I'm not overly worried. The thing is, though, when you also get and I also have been arguing that if you have a war for several years, sooner or later your equipment will be picked up by the opponents. But it's just when you get the dual sextuple gun here on this walker and it's mercs, you have a tendency of spreading something unique for the allied to everyone.
Yeah,
and
because
the allied flavor is diluted a little bit.
Because the thing I'm thinking about with this one is including it with my Mythos army, because they don't really have any long-range firepower at all, and this very neatly fits into that slot.
I can guess so. So therefore, I wouldn't mind if it were like unique for armies, except perhaps for mercs. If you do an all merc army, I wouldn't mind if they perhaps had one or two of these.
But you cannot hire it to other armies or something like that.
Something like that or something. Or at least not more than once, because you don't have you can't capture this barking dog or the or stuff like that. So and that is such a typical allied kind of thing in my world. So. It's just I hope it doesn't dilute the allied fraction, but it's just me.
We'll just have to wait and see what happens there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Next up, something that we know has been coming for a while, and it seems like it's finally time for the Königswatan. 4 big lasers on the heavy axis chassis, the super heavy even, and Paolo said that these are the same lasers that are found in the bunkers.
Yeah.
So, and then 4 of them on a walker. This is going to be an expensive beast.
I hope so. I hope this is not cheap. I would love to face it on the battlefield. And since, if I understood it correctly, it would be Blowkreuz. So that would fit very well in with okay, I got 2 Votans now, and you have some range firepower for the Blowkreuz already. Yeah. But it would be nice to put that beast up and then perhaps put not 40, of course, but 10 squads of zombies around it, and then let's go.
Come get me. Then we have also in December Downfall, the next expansion book, and we've kind of seen this coming. We've seen this kind of pattern now for a few years that they release their expansions late in the year. So yeah, it's really looking good for the game that they are managing to keep that going. Yeah. So it's going to be very exciting. We haven't really heard that much about what's going to be in the book.
No, not yet.
But we're carefully optimistic, I think.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure it will be some sort of rill in it.
Yes,
and I am already excited about it. Actually, I've not played through the Paradise Lost enough, of course, yet. It's still a lot of things to do there. But just knowing that, even if I just go stir crazy and get everyone to play Paradise Lost with me all this year, and I can't see myself tiring on Paradise Lost, not in any way, but in just a few months, I will have the next campaign book, and it is so. They're on such a good trajectory that I'm almost at a point now that I can almost only be disappointed on the next campaign book because I'm expecting too much.
It is named Downfall.
Yeah, so you get a big point there.
But that's
sooner or later you
actually,
have to be a little disappointed.
I mean,
at least.
just the name makes me very excited because the downfall of what or of whom?
Yeah.
So it makes you think, what's the next step? What's going to happen with this one? Yeah,
it's really, it's exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Something else that's really exciting as well, also in December, is a brand new Dust RPG that's in development at the moment, and it's not going to be directly based on the older RPGs, but it's still going to be in the Dust world. It's going to be just pick up and play. This sounds really exciting, and just to have something that the studio themselves own and can support with new products and like modules and stuff, that's going to be very, very exciting. And that's something that we have talked about that we should do. We should play the RPG, and now we just definitely have to do this when this new RPG comes around, and maybe also do something for the show for it. That's something that we have talked about. I'm not sure if people are interested in that, but it could be cool.
Yeah, but because I mean, I haven't been playing role-playing games now for a very long time, but I do enjoy them. It's just difficult to get that going, really. But I do enjoy reading. So over the years, I have still bought some stuff for different games that I'm interested in because, I mean, reading the lore, more background, finding out more about some cool characters and stories. It's always nice and enjoyable. And it for me, this new role-playing game, I'm not sure how much I would play it, but I would love reading it because it would enhance all the miniatures games I would play in Dust. So it's still a very interesting product and project for me.
Yeah, that's the real go-to point for me as well. I hope it is a lot of fluff so I can read up on it. I think I'm more or less done with role-playing since quite a long time ago. I get so frustrated with having rules and storytell in the same thing. That just crashes to me. It just feels stupid. But I love that the ones that do like that can have it. And if they do this also like a little bit of a bridge to more story-driven campaigns, or so you can like, I wouldn't mind going to a place where we kind of story talked through the scenarios and then played the war that happened after or something, when you link it a little bit so your miniature is in there with it and you use some hybrid stuff.
Use inspiration and use like story hooks for your miniatures games for new scenarios and stuff. Yeah,
because then I think it's going to be light enough for people in our age to have the time to do it, because that's basically, I mean, you know, you can have a little bit of luck and you get someone that gets out of job or gets sick or something. It sounds shitty like that, but I mean, and that guy could go or girl could go like and do a campaign and think stuff out, but basically you never have the time for that.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Role-playing games. I mean, playing a campaign is awesome.
Yeah.
But it was years and years since I did it because it's so difficult to find the time, and especially to find time for the same group of people. It's,
and especially if you are the DM, then because then it's just not the time you spend by actually playing, but you have to prepare and do everything in between. And I'm a little bit dreading it actually, because I have promised my wife's niece that we should play role-playing games with her, me and my wife. And especially she is very excited about a relatively new Swedish role-playing game based on a popular children's book series called the Superhero's Handbook.
That looks good.
Yeah, we promised that we should play that with her. So I have to read up on like the setting and the characters and everything. It's daunting because I haven't really done that successfully before, I think. But it's going to be interesting to see.
How old is she now again?
She is she's like yours.
Okay.
So yeah.
Then
so 9.
she's always heavy into the superhero handbooks. So if
you should check that out.
If you want another player, I can probably bring you one. I'll tell you.
We'll get back to you on that.
You know she seems to be very comfortable with you and your wife. So it's almost scary sometimes.
All right, so that was all of the news that we had to talk about, and it was quite a lot. And lot of stuff happened near the end of the year. That's just
exactly. I mean, 2019 has been fantastic, but I think 2020 will be even more.
It's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen with the game in 2020, definitely. But we do have 2019 to look back at. I mean, 2020 is the year of hindsight. So so maybe we should take a look back at what we thought was the most exciting releases of 2019. This has kind of been a tradition for us for the new year before. So we're going to do it this year again. So our top 5 most exciting releases of 2019. And I think, Ludde, before we get into the actual top 5, you mentioned you had some honorable mentions.
Well, here's the thing. For some reason, these guys work in different ways than me in some aspects, definitely. So they made a top 5 release for last year. And I'm like, when I did the rough cut, I had like 15 or 16, 17 different things, which I think one should mention and talk about a little bit. But Magnus said he had picked out 2 special stuff on the side as well. So, and I guess you could easily join us in our thoughts. So, should we do our honorable things first?
Sure.
Well, then I start with one of the things that it was like border thing. The Dust Studio did it. I want it sometime. I'm super jealous on you, of course. But I don't know when I will be able to prepare it. It is, of course, the Sigrid 120 collection edition. I so want that on my shelf. I'm gonna get it one day, I know, but at the moment it's not possible. So I'm just dreaming. I think, and it's not, since it's not a game piece. I didn't think it should be on the list. So I put it outside also to give room to more things on the list because
well, it's your list. You can put whatever you want on it.
Yeah, I know.
But just talking about that, I agree. It's a fantastic product. It's a fantastic release, and I hope they continue with it. And I think they can also expand it by doing like busts for different characters in a larger scale. That could also be really, really awesome.
Definitely. I'm all with you.
Right. So, my first honorable mention goes to the new Steelguard starter box, which I think is a really cool box. More Steelguards are cool. I've mentioned before they are definitely my favorite SSU models. Yeah. And very iconic to the game and everything. And this in particular also brings some new rules, a new play style for the Steelguards. Making that subfaction more versatile and more interesting in my opinion. So I think even though I don't really play the SSU, I still think it's a really cool addition to the game as a whole. Yeah.
But that said, you have actually played Steelguard in a few tournaments.
Yeah, I've tried. I do own some SSU stuff, including some Steelguard. So whenever that happens, that I start an SSU army, it will definitely include Steelguards because they are so cool. And I can't remember exactly which tournament it was, but I did borrow some stuff to make an almost all Steel Guard army.
Yeah, wasn't it the Nordic last year? Or
Not last year,
no,
maybe
next,
the year
before that
yeah,
was
something like that, yeah.
because you had two shoppers and two anti-infantry squads.
Yeah.
That people remember that.
Yeah.
Did I have? Maybe I had two.
Two squads,
remember.
You had two squads.
I had two squads. Okay.
Yeah. Give it a rest. Okay, Johannes, you have to pick something out of your hat.
I don't have a hat. I don't have a cap. So you go ahead.
Okay then. Well, I'm gonna do a little bit of curveball then, and that's why I started with the Sigrid Sigrid sculpt.
Yeah.
Because I have the second honorable one will be something that is a unique item that came out, and since we only this year were to pick 5 things for the game, I think that was out of competition, so to speak. So I've been focusing in totally on the models when we get to the list. So it's actually Paradise Lost.
Oh.
Also because it's such a great book, it stands out. It is the next step of the game. Everything about it. It's not fair for the other things to so to speak compete against each other, because then then we only have a top 4. I mean, because the Paradise Lost is of course better than everything. It talking about, as I talked before about the Antarctica and the Fog of War, you have now almost a cheap man's option, which I just so love, that now you can put 2 blank mats together or 3 and play without any terrain, and it's fun, it's competitive, it's exciting, because you only have 6 line of sights. I mean, okay, you can...
Yeah, the Fog of War rule, and also the specific theater rules makes cool combinations.
Yeah, and I know the severe weather was in the rule book in the beginning, but this really amplifies it and made us start playing it, because, or at least here in Sweden...
because of the way they incorporate it directly into the scenarios and the theater rules,
So, and the vehicles gets more interesting, because you can start now, like we talked about before the show, I talked about, you can go in columns, so you can hide your army behind your other vehicles, because people don't see what's coming there. You can sacrifice 2 big walkers or something to smother the others. And the endless possibilities, almost, now it's not endless, but it brings up a new theater, basically, with its smartness, and just the way that they also incorporated the jungle theaters on the maps, where they made it possible almost and enjoyable to play in a overcrowded area. I mean,
overgrown, and just tons and tons and tons of terrain everywhere, and it's very different.
So to me, it had to stick out. You had to put it separately, otherwise it. Sorry.
Well, my second and final honorable mention before the actual list is the Mythos Headquarters Box.
Oh.
Again, I don't play Mythos. I have no plans really on doing it. But this box now makes the Mythos, I wouldn't say complete army, because like we said before, they still need some more options, like for infantry and stuff like that. But suddenly they are a very competitive sort of army. They are not like a one-trick pony. That I have felt that they are like a one-trick pony almost. You know exactly what they are going to do, but with this box they get so many more options of what they can do and how they can build or focus their army. So I think from now on we are going to see a lot more diversity in the Mythos army. Up until now they have seen, they've been, at least from what I've seen, they have been very similar. You get a few different things maybe, but more or less this is a Mythos army. Now it will be very different.
Yeah, it really opens the possibilities. I agree with you, because you Johannes, is more or less the only one I've seen trying to play the only the cultists and the small walkers and the vehicles and stuff like that. But that is it's a hopeless gesture. But now when you get Rasputin and everything in it, you get the possibility to get that to work, I think. So you really get, as Magnus say, very many options for the Mythos.
And especially with the combinations and the new saboteurs. And I'm going to talk a bit more about those when we get to tournament talk, because I did play a Mythos list in that tournament. So that's a very interesting pick. So you have something else you want to bring up before we go up to our number 5, Ludda?
No, just that I have a top 15. So I might comment if you guys mention something that I have in the lower 6 to 15. I'll just mention it, and it's a crossover.
Right. So I'll just pick up my number 5 then.
Oh, please
and
do.
My number 5 most exciting release for 2019 is something.
Number 5.
Yeah. That's something that is completely new to the game that we have not seen before, and we still haven't really seen what this actually will do to the game, to the meta, to the balance of upcoming releases and stuff. But it's very exciting to see what's going to happen with this, and everyone seems to, when they see this, they say, "Oh, how can I break this?" It's of course the VK stash.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting. We saw a few players play it now in Linköping, and it was a hit and miss thing. People still are figuring out how to use it and how to abuse it. That's also things we see. So it's going to be very exciting to see what comes out of this. It's like a grand experiment for the studio. And I think that's what they do. They release this and just see what does this do to the game and to the community, and what can we then do else with this idea of purchasable with points like scenario or scenery pieces. So
I like that. I don't have it actually on my top 15. I would have had it on my top 3 terrain features. I will get back to this I think in our next episode, which is a special question Q&A episode we will do, because we have some questions that I think concerns this. Very good questions, some you should really stick around and listen to, but So I get it. That's a wonderful thing, and I love that they did it. But on a top 5, no. On a top 15, okay. If we would have perhaps thought about it a little bit more, but I sincerely actually think no, not my top 15. Even though I love the VK stash, I'm mad for it. So
what's your number 5?
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. Yeah. Well, it's you ranted about a little bit before the podcast. It was a personal thing, and I was thinking, and just when I see it, it's actually a thing that's been around, but it started. It was the first time that it was released. It's not a huge big thing, but I know a lot of guys who had tried to play it, Allied 2s had been waiting for it. And it makes very big impact if you're trying to play Allied 2s. So to me, it's the Heavy Mortar Squad for Allies. And it's finally here.
The Ranger Heavy Mortar Squad.
Ranger Heavy Mortar Squad. Yeah. That's my number 5. I actually, I would have placed it perhaps 2 or 3 steps lower down if we were doing a top 10, or if we were doing a top 5 Allied, it would be on there, top 3, perhaps even on the Allied stuff. But I just feel that is such an important unit. We had to mention that because it's one of those that get lost in the airwaves, so to speak. And for the Allied players, it's so important. And for those of you who hasn't tried the effect of having a Heavy Mortar Squad or 2 in your platoon and scout 3 spaces and then shoot mortar and look at the jaw of that other idiot you're playing against when you take out 2 or 3 of his squads and he's just flabbergasted. Okay, it's out there now, so perhaps, but still, even people have played against still get surprised when they see it again. Okay, I go 3 spaces over here and I shoot around the corner, or around the corner, so to speak, and I take out your HQ over there. And they're like, what is that? No, it's a Ranger platoon. Yeah, I know they are crap, these guys, but they can do that, so up yours.
It's a very interesting choice, and I have to say that it's so interesting that it is also my number 5.
Whoa! Bam! Good folks, you have to do something about this. We're starting to meld. This
is scary.
Save us, please.
It's for the reasons that you mentioned, and it's also, I mean, this unit has been playable for a very long time, but it hasn't been available for a very long time. I've been looking forward to this, and now it's here again. So yeah, it's a very good choice, Ludda.
Really cool. All right, let's just keep going then. Number 4 on the list.
Magnus, come on. Number 4. I was thinking we have to do it.
Okay, so I'm going first now.
Yeah, sure.
I just thought that you should do the number 4 thing, but now I did it.
Number 4.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going then. My number 4 is something that was released quite recently, so I haven't had that much time to play with it, but just the look of this unit, what it represents for the game going forward. We know that there are more stuff like it coming, which is very exciting to me personally, and I know to a lot of other people as well. It's the E10 Hetza.
Good choice. Good choice. It's I have the E10s. Let's see, somewhere around on my 10th spot. Yeah, they pop up with an E-tank. They are super sweet. They are so good.
They're so cute.
Yeah, I think the reason why they didn't go higher on my list is because when they came out with the Desert Scorpion trucks, they blew me so far out of the water that if the E-tanks had come then and the other way around, perhaps I would have been ecstatic. But now I'm a little bit dulled by their the masterclass of the trucks. So therefore, I think
if you just look at the physical objects themselves, the trucks outclass them. Yes, I definitely believe so.
Okay,
but just in terms of what excites me about the game, what I want to play, and what's excites me about what's going to come out, the whole E-series tanks, just tanks in general for all of the different armies. I mean, that is one of the big things that made me put this on my list.
I truly get you, but since I haven't gotten around to the German tanks yet, I'm still on the Panzer IV wish list. I mean, 2 Panzer IVs and play in an army is my dream, and just having them work together with those lasers and all machine guns, that is a wet dream for me, of course. And then I would add E-tanks after that, but I'm so way behind. I can't. I'm not. But I've been playing a few E-tanks, and it's wonderful to meet them. They're really hard to play against, but they're also fun to kill, and they look beautiful on the mat, on the playing surface. So it's a very good choice.
Right. So you're number 4.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, here's another thing. This one could have been an honorable. I was thinking, should this be on the list? It's one of those, again, that I will never own. It will probably be hard for me to get it because it's an collector's edition. And you could argue then that this is add-on, almost terrain-ish, but it's the Joyful Mechanics Crew model kit. I would so love to get my hands on one of those sets and just add on to my other walkers, my tanks
exactly.
and everything.
There's just so many options you can do if you want to make a captured vehicle specific for the mercenaries. You can use them as crew, and I really see what you mean there.
Yeah, because I only have gotten 2 mercenary crews. I mean the wrench and stuff, the girls there, the 1 and 2 of the you know what I'm talking about. And I only have 3 of them left in their squad, and I've added to my guy from a tank truck who's in there with a cap instead, so a little bit also to balance the sexes a little bit. But the other 5s are already mounted on different stuff, so I need more girls to mount. Oh, sorry, that. Okay, it had to happen sometime. So guys, if you have girls that want to be mounted, please send. No, it's just getting. I'm Okay, sorry.
Right. Moving on. Well,
Yes, please.
again, we have another crossover, but this time it's with you, Johannes.
Oh.
The E-tanks are also. I'm very excited for them. I really love the box that has come out yet. The Hetzer and the
And the Flam Hetzer, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Super cool. I like everything about them. But it's also, like you said, it's kind of the promise of what's to come that really makes them, that high on my list.
Yeah.
So.
And you also see that, I've seen that in a few other circles, not just the gaming community is excited about this, but also the modeling community, because there haven't really been any good models released for the E-tanks before.
No.
So just that in and of itself is really cool. So
I truly get that, and it's also more logical for Magnus to have them there because he is a core Axis player. So I mean, of course, they should be on his list, so to speak.
So I think maybe for number 3 on the list, maybe Magnus should go first this time.
Well, it's not too much of a surprise anyway. I have the VK Stash as my number 3.
Oh, yeah.
Crossover.
Because it's hard to describe. It's very small, simple things, and I suspect in many games it will probably have basically no impact at all. But I really like that you can add this sort of out of army. It's not a combat unit of any kind. It's something else that you can add. So I'm really hoping that they will do something more in this line. I don't want to have the battlefield like clutter with all kinds of stuff, but a few different things that you could choose to add like this, I think would be really great. So it's also the VK Stash. The reason that it's on my list is both what it actually is and also sort of the promise of what can come out of this. So I have some big hopes there.
Yeah, and it's still. I mean, it's. Since they made rules for the ammo crates, so now, or ammo crate stash, then you get the logical that, of course, it has to be a VK stash somewhere. And it's just, so this is not just something strange, crazy that spins off from a different reason. It goes with the theme, and
it's a natural progression of the game in a way.
Definitely, and I'm still thinking about that wonderful scenery, which at least I have one, that is the repair engine when you can repair walkers. I wish also, there's also something I hope I can bring one more perhaps one day, because those are so nice.
All right. So you're number 3.
Oh yeah. Well, then because I think it ties in good when if we go to me, because you have to have some terrain on the. I was thinking first that I should say that this was probably the biggest release last year from the studio, the biggest product, and this is also something then, of course, then that I wish I will get. I'm dreaming on this. Unfortunately. I haven't had the time or money or capacity to buy it when it was sold at a convention or a tournament yet. So I haven't been able to afford shipping it because I'm talking, of course, about the Middle Eastern House number 2.
Yeah,
that is.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
just beautiful.
It now with the new rules as well, you can have basically, if you paint that correctly, you place it in the center of a table. And you're done. That's how good it is. I mean, it's a gaming table by itself with all its, and it can still, because you have all the spaces and 2 stories and 3 rooms and stuff like that, so you can have that intricacy when your infantry moves around in it, on it, up, fly over it, and it just has to be on the list. It's super.
It just barely fell out of mine. I agree. It's a fantastic piece of scenery. Definitely. My number 3 is kind of a cheat. I usually don't cheat in these lists, but this year I kind of had to, because like we talked about, there's been a lot of new stuff for the game. Just not only new releases for the different factions, but also some brand new things that we've never seen before. But I also think that, as with the Mortar Squad, we should give a big shout out to the studio for bringing back older stuff as well. So my number 3 most exciting release of 2019 is everything they've re-released this year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because it's so much stuff. It's the Ranger heavy mortars. It's the hammers. The heavy Ranger assault. I mean, there's just so many things.
Boxes.
Yeah, the hero boxes. There's just mind-blowing amount of stuff that's essential for certain armies, but have been almost impossible to get. So just for the new gamers, and also for gamers that's been into the game for a while but haven't been able to get a hold of these units, I'm just applaud the studio for making these things available again. It's been fantastic to see.
It's so true, so true. Yeah. And on that note, I'd like to just carry on and say one of those I wanted to put on my list, but I couldn't find places for when it's good. It gets incorporated in this way. Yeah. Is that German actually support group when you got the observer, the snipers, and the mortars in the same box.
That's an amazing box.
Yeah. But please do that for Rangers too as well. Couldn't you? Because I need more Ranger snipers, I need more Ranger mortars, and I need more Ranger observers. So that would be a very good fix for any Allied 2 player, because those options aren't 100% at the moment. So if they can do that, please.
Yeah, sure. Ooh, we're getting close to it. Yeah. Do you feel it? Yeah, we're at number 2. So should I go first this time?
Number 2.
Yeah, okay, I might as well get this out of the way, because my number 2 is actually also a bit of a cheat. So why cheat small when you can cheat big?
Yeah,
right?
Why didn't we do a top 10 so everything could fit in, so no one had to cheat?
Exactly. But this is actually stuff that's more close together, because it's the same type of thing, everything in it. And we've touched on this before as well, because this is something that takes some of the newer factions or blocks in the game and just makes them a lot more viable and a lot more playable. It's the HQ boxes for the IJN, the Mythos, and the Mercenaries, because this finally makes these on par with all the other blocks. Yeah. And as a personal experience, I can really vouch for what you were saying about the Mythos HQ box. I mean, before, when you played the Mythos, you just looked at the table and say, what's the best thing I can do? Oh, this. And the opponent also said, there's just no dynamism there. There's no surprises. There's less excitement. Now when you have these heroes and the HQ, suddenly you have a lot more options. You have a lot more tactical decisions to make. And suddenly they feel like a proper dust army. And it's the same thing. I haven't played with the Mercs or the Japanese, but I played against the Japanese with the HQ, and that's a very different type of command. And I played with Roger now in Linköping, and he plays them like frontline assault unit, which is very weird. But they can also do all the HQ stuff as well. So it's a very different type of unit, and it's just lovely to see. And also not only the HQ units themselves, but also all the different heroes bring so much to the table, just for variation, and it's just amazing to see. I can't recommend these boxes highly enough for people who play these blocks.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
I agree.
Right, Magnus, your number 2.
Okay, my number 2 is a very personal one, I would say. I'm not sure how many other people out there would rank it this high. Maybe Ludda, maybe. Because this one is Rosie, but specifically Rosie and her crew members.
Oh.
That box that you
bing,
put
bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing. Yeah. Number 2, Rosie and Crew Collector's Edition. Yeah, I need to get a life. I'm starting to. I can't see myself anymore. It's just a blur.
Like a mirror.
Yeah. Evil.
Yeah, but this one is. I mean, the models obviously are great and super cool and everything, but they bring so much to the allies in what they can do and what they can. how they can really change a game, because they have some really cool weaponry, so you can play them aggressively to work for you that way. They are obviously mechanics and can work wonders, and they also have their special ability once per game to refill all the underbarrel grenade launchers and other limited ammo that you have, and the Rangers really like that.
Yes.
So it makes the Rangers army, which I do play fairly often, much more interesting and viable, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, this is such a super thing, super unit that it's, and also that I have this weakness for Rosie, and just like this, so it's my favorite model I've talked about, perhaps in junction with Sigrid. That is, it would be hard trying to separate those two. Is it Sigrid? Is it Rosie? Rosie is Sigrid? Of course, Korsga has stolen my heart, of course, but I mean,
yeah, but I mean they've released several different versions of Rosie now. She exists in various parts of the story and settings and everything. But with the combination of this new unit, it's a home run for me.
Yeah, definitely. So easy.
So now I'm really excited actually to hear what your number one would be.
Yeah, because no one is interested in yours, because you have to have Paradise Lost.
Because I can't
if you don't have it, then you can stop this podcast and you can go home.
I was kind of figuring that it's very likely that me and Magnus have the same number one.
Yeah.
So why don't we just say it together? 3, 2, 1, Paradise Lost, of course. So for all the reasons that you brought up, I mean, this just opens up the game tremendously. I mean,
there's really no competition for me at all, because you have the short stories, which are great. In case you haven't had time to read them yet, you definitely should. You have the extra background story, about all the theaters, and the fact that it broadens the scope. Instead of just focusing on one part, you can now play like almost wherever you are. And it has a product, that's the package. It includes not only the book with all its goodies, it includes those fantastic maps and all the extra stuff that you get with it. It's just amazing.
So like you said, Loda, it's just hard to see how the studio could ever top this. But then again, we thought the same thing about Hellgate. So, well, it's dangerous for the studio, because they keep raising our expectations here.
Yeah, I basically just try to be quiet because I talked too much about it before. So now it's your time to shine. Please
I think we've already just lavished this book enough. So we are very interested to see what is Loda's number one most exciting release of 2019.
I'm starting to get a little bit feeling that I'm a little bit tragic, because this is also something that I don't yet have. This is something I will have. It's not a question of, it's just a question of when. I think it's 1 month, perhaps 1.5 months away at maximum, that it will be in my house. And it can only be one thing, if you consider what type of player am I at heart. What do I usually play?
Is it the IGN dice set?
Yes! 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 Give the man a prize. Well, no, it's of course a Russian thing. Well, as you mentioned before, especially Magnus here, it brings something new. It brings something old, and something old with a new twist. I'm thinking, of course, about the KV3 Walker that's in there. It is, of course, the Kowalski's Marauders Steel Guard starter set. For any Russian player not getting that, and not... well, it's just... I've been ranting... Is it like in at least 10 podcasts about I want those jumping steel guards with the with the Tesla batons? It's just the question is actually, should I buy 2 or 3 starter boxes? But that at the moment the economy won't allow it. But 1 box will be arriving soon, in a month's time, I would gather, and then it's the sky's the limit. How many Tesla frogs there will be in the end. I mean, because the KV3s was like it's so beautiful model. It's one of those that actually can almost make me take a bathroom break. I take it in, go, it's just me and it. I mean, just pay. Well, I even like the one with the Tesla.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
the Type 47.
Yeah, I even play that one now and again just because it's such a beautiful. And
yeah, well, it's based on stolen Axis technology, so of course it's
bullshit.
great. Yeah,
yeah, that's there. There we go. He had to, He was just trying, but he was just setting it up.
No,
so
I'm just explaining how it is.
Yeah.
It's just the facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And next you're gonna tell me that the jumping frogs are made on Luftwaffe technology or something like that, or I mean the other ones.
You can have that one.
Oh,
okay.
thank
That's
you.
okay.
Yes.
Now that's obviously based on the jetpacks that the Heavy Rangers use. So
I think I can live with that a little bit more, but yeah.
Right. So that was the most exciting releases of 2019. We have some more stuff to talk about. We've played some tournaments recently. Like I've said, I've been to Linköping for the Linköping Days of Dust just a few days after New Year's, which was a really cool tournament. And they used the same tournament rules and the same scenarios as they did at the German Masters that you went to, Ludda.
Yeah.
And so, since that happened chronologically before, maybe we should hear some thoughts from you about that tournament.
I've been trying to do a little German special now, and I have some interviews. I have some thoughts from myself when I was there, and I've recorded some. So I think I'll just say that it was immensely fun to go, as it was 2 years ago. But I think I'm gonna hold you a little bit on a string there until I do release, because I feel I owe every beautiful person that was there and who let me interview them and stuff like that. I just say it was a wonderful experience going to Germany, and I love the scenarios. Okay, I can do one spoiler. I think so I don't just sound too optimistic. I think about the point system is a little bit it went a little bit too far. It was a little bit German. I don't know. It felt like you had to go on a training camp a few weeks before just to calculate your points and how to maximize your points. Because if someone really, really wanted to get the highest points and really wanted to win, then it was very important that you did certain things. You couldn't just go for the objectives or trying to win the game, so to speak, because even if you won the game, then you had a second objective with the other thing that you had to compare, and you got extra bonus points if you did one thing, and then the bonus points added up to a tally, and the tally you measured on another separate table, and then that table showed you if you got any points or not. So it was like, yeah, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that complicated. It was fun to do it. But if I really wanted to win that tournament, it felt like I really had to practice just calculating. And it didn't. And that,
like exactly where each line was. What you needed to do to pass into the next level.
Points bracket.
And then I don't play the game anymore. That's the problem for me.
Then you play the system instead of the game.
You play a machine, or you get the calculations, and it can be very fun, because I like mathematics, to try to be the best at figuring out the formula to get the machinery to work, clicking. But Dust is so much more of a game for me. So I'd like to try to win the tournament. I'd like to try to go there and play for glory if I go to tournament. But I also want to play the game. So too much of a victory conditioning system, I lose touch with the meta, and then I'm lost.
I can definitely see that point. I mean, we did use the same point system when we played in Linköping, and I can't speak for everyone who was there, obviously, but the kind of general consensus that I got from it was that people there enjoyed it, and I think because it was more of a casual tournament, it wasn't really focused on you had to win, because there were no big prizes really. It was just for fun, and that probably helped that aspect of it. But I think the thing that people enjoyed the most about that system is that you could do relatively poorly in a match but still get quite a lot of victory points in the end, which in the system that we use normally for our tournaments, just a win is a win and a loss is a loss, basically. There's a little bit of a tiebreaker at the end with kill points, but it's rarely that comes into play. So I think people enjoy that.
But the system that we normally use, the first tiebreaker after how many wins you actually have is the strength of schedule.
Yeah.
So...
which means if people don't know what that is, it basically adds up the number of wins for the people that you have played against.
Yeah, so it's a measurement of how difficult was your journey till the end of the tournament, basically. So if you had better opponents than I did, but we finished on the same number of wins, then you will be ranked higher than me because your journey there was more difficult. And I think that is by far the best way to do it, because there's really no other way to measure. Otherwise, it all comes down to the lottery of the draw, the pairings. If you are lucky or unlucky with that. So.
Well, there's still a little bit of that in the first round. You can't really come around that, basically, unless you do some kind of season ranking or something like that. But I don't think we're interested in that.
No, of course.
I would be interested in season rankings, and I would also be interested in pre-qualifications for the big tournaments. I know this is impossible because it would be too big of a deal, but I would have loved if either Nordic or Warsaw were to step up and had some sort of pre-qualification. So when you get to the actual 5 games that will decide, you have like perhaps an A list and a B list, and you can have prizes for the one winning the B list and one winning the A list. I've talked about this for years, and I don't mind just being annoying and talking about it more because...
Yeah, I don't know about that, because for me, first, it's going to be super difficult to actually administrate that, to get someone or some organization to actually do it and maintain it and everything. So that's the reality of it. But also, I would say it kind of takes out a little bit of the fun of the casual play. I think it would become too competitive in that case. So it's a fine line. You have to make that balance between competition and casual.
I'm not sure that it would, because if you would have games the first day that would separate the two brackets, so to speak, I feel like the ones that really get to the sort of top list in the second day, they are there to try to win it. They were there to try to win it, and they would be competitive and the other ones, they are there for the game and the experience, and they will, perhaps someone will be very sad that they didn't get to the thing they should go to the A list. That might go for me as well. But then I think they could feel, okay, at least I don't have to play one of those super competitive guys next year. Tomorrow, I mean, then now I'm playing with people who just want to have fun, and we're just here for shits and giggles, actually. I mean, so I think it could be, it's of course up to every individual, and I do get it that it's an administrational hazard, and how it should be done, that's another problem, of course, and I realize that, but sorry, yeah.
But that point aside, I should just talk a little bit about the actual tournament, because I had tremendous amounts of fun at this tournament. I played, like I said, a Mythos list, and I did some shenanigans with it because my Mythos are all primary, or they are the premium. I'm getting a little bit tired, I think. All the premium, and I don't have 3 of the saboteur squads in premium, but I still wanted to use that platoon. But then I remembered that there is actually a very seldomly used rule in the platoon list building rules that allows you to take one of your combat units and replace it with a mercenary unit of the same type and the same or higher armor value. And the types it lists are infantry, vehicle, or aircraft. So infantry, same class or higher. So I put one of those combat squads that's supposed to be one of the saboteur squads, and instead put in Gregor.
Right.
So yeah, that's some shenanigans right there. And people, what, are you actually allowed to do that? And yeah, that's what it says. Look, and yes, yeah, oh yeah, sure.
It's a wonderful idea. It's sick, it's perverted, but it's wonderful.
And it doesn't actually do anything for the platoon. It's just to make the platoon skill happen, because that those combat units are not affected by the platoon rule at all. So I feel kind of not that filthy for doing it, because I have to tell you, Ekaterina with a saboteur squad with spy. I mean, that's
some havoc.
She was definitely the most kill points I got. I think even topping the Avatar of Cthulhu. I mean, in my last game against Kalle, who was also bringing a Mythos army. I mean, when she got in, she jumped in, she killed 2 different units, one with all her dynamite and one with the pistols. Then Rasputin went in, reactivated her, and she killed another 2 units. 4 units in turn 1. I mean, that's
quite nice.
That is very interesting.
And you also said that Rasputin went in, so he used 1 action.
1 die.
So Kalle, my heart goes out to you.
Yeah, that match against me and Kalle, the dice really hated him.
Well, they always do. It's his problem.
And they loved you, it sounds like.
They did. Well, actually,
sympathy,
they started out loving me. Those activations with Ekaterina went just flawlessly, basically. After that, I had very much of an uphill struggle. For those of you who aren't familiar about that scenario that we used, it's the rescue the cat one. So in turn 3, there's a lot of trees on the board, and starting turn 3, you can search these trees for a missing cat, which you're supposed to bring back to your side of the table. And just to go, I didn't have that many units left. He had 2 avatars of Cthulhu. I had 1. At the end of the game, that one had been killed, and most of my infantry had been killed. His Ekaterina killed my Rasputin and HQ. I didn't really have that much left, and I just had 1 of my smaller spawns left, and I can't take his avatars down. It's just not possible at this point. So yeah, I might as well just start looking for the cat. So I just went to a random tree with my spawn and looked for the cat. Oh, there it is, immediately, which immediately prompted both of his avatars to charge my spawn. Miss with everything. Second one, miss with everything. Okay, next turn, initiative. He wins. Sustained attack, miss. Sustained attack, miss. I think he did 1 damage after that, and then I just marched off the board with the cat. I mean, I really felt sorry for him at this point.
I have some similar.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, and I can spoil that. I have some similar stories from the German masters on that and other scenarios, and linking to Cthulhu, which is just crazy as well. So perhaps the Germans have done some shenanigans, some voodooism or some Cthulhuism on those.
Maybe.
I wouldn't put
but
it
I
past
also feel
Johannes.
But I also feel something else that I should mention. Also, the first match of that tournament was just really special. It was one of the most fun matches I've had in a long time, actually, because it went back and forth and was a lot of dynamism and a lot of action, and just could go either way at any moment. And in the end, I just barely managed to win, and that was against a heavy Rangers army. And not only that, you guys know who this is. I played against Linus.
Yes, it must be. It must be. If it's Tronos, it's Linus, it's heavy.
Yeah, it was just a fantastically enjoyable match, and it could have gone anywhere. So if you want to have something that could really beat the crap out of Cthulhu monsters, go with Heavy Rangers. They really did a number on them.
It's good to hear. Also good to hear that Linus is keeping up his new type of gameplay, I would say, because I felt like he really the last couple of years he has been upping his game very much.
Definitely.
He had a hard time when he started. He was always funny, always nice, and always a little bit cocky in his mouth, you know. But it was an all right guy. But now he's also very starting to get very competitive.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting and very exciting tournament in a lot of ways. The only really bad thing for me that happened was that I slept in on the second day.
Ouch.
Yeah, I did set my alarm on my phone, and then suddenly I slept at this place where we had the tournaments before, and. I was the only person there, so there was nobody else. But Essa was supposed to pick me up, and I kind of half woke up in the morning and said, the alarm hasn't gone off yet. I can just rest here for a while. Then suddenly I just hear a rap on the phone on the window. So, hello, are you in there? And that's Essa. So, oh shit, my alarm hasn't come on. And what happened was that I had set my usual alarm that I use for work. That only goes off on weekdays.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
So I was just up and out in 5 minutes, and Essa was like, oh, I'm impressed. That was really fast. So, yeah. But, yeah. Other than that, it was a really, really good time. And I hope we have some more of those small casual tournaments again soon. I think a lot of people are craving it. So, yeah. That said, I think at this point we usually go on to mail call.
Yeah.
And we are going to do that, but it's actually not going to be a part of this episode. We're trying something new here. Yeah, we are splitting off the mail call section because we have got so many interesting questions that we really want to take time to go through. And we're splitting up into a separate episode that will be released like a day or two after this one. So if you crave to have your questions answered, then just stay tuned. And unless you two guys have anything else you want to add to this episode?
Brains!
Thank you, Lida. We will see you in 2020! Thank you for listening to Dust War Journals. You can find us at dustwarjournals.com or on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dust War Journals. And you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/dustwarjournals. All music used in this podcast is made by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com.